Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Xavier Smith, and today I'm going to be talking about community ecology, which is basically primary and secondary succession. So let's talk. First, a biological community is a group of interacting populations that live in the same area at the same time. So your community may include you, your friends, your parents, your family, your dog, your cat, any animal you have, the fungus outside, the grass outside, the bacteria in your stomach, every organism that is living in your community, even the mold on that cheese in your fridge. Yeah, or on the bread. It's part of your biological community. And not all communities are the same and have the same variations. For example, a desert and a polar community are not the same. They definitely have different animals and they interact in different ways. Then there are rural and urban. Of course, the city is not the same as the country. And then there's ecological succession, which is the main topic in this video, which is a change in an ecosystem when one community replaces another as a result of changing abiotic and biotic factors. You'll see more what that looks like. And there's primary succession, which happens basically when there's just bare rock and there's no existing soil. So it's like if there's a glacier and it moves or melts and then just bare rock, like a big land of rock is left behind. There's no soil on it. That will be primary succession. There will be things called like founder species, pioneer species, and they will come along and make soil. Then there's secondary succession, which is there's soil left over. So that could happen if there was like a wildfire. Then a forest is destroyed, but over time that will build back up. That forest will mature again into a climax community, which is our next topic. Climax community is the stable, mature community that results when there's little change in species composition. So, like if there is a big forest, then there's a forest fire. 75 years later, when there's another forest that grew in, if the species of trees look similar to the way they did before, like the forest just looks pretty much the same, there may be some differences, then that is just a climax community. That community just came right back. Now let's talk about primary succession. So an example of primary succession could be, well, we have bare rock, right? Then there are lichens, which are a pioneer species that just attached to rock. Then you'll have the mosses, and these things together will start creating like a little soil layer. And then there will be herbs and weeds that start growing on that rock, on the mosses, on the soil created by the lichens, and these are all called pioneers. This is the pioneer stages, so these are all pioneer species. They're going to be the first to show up in primary succession. If there is primary succession, these will be the lichens, the mosses, the herbs, and the weeds will be the first to show up. Then there's the intermediate stages, which are, now there's grasses growing on that rock. And guess what? There's some soil over this rock now. Now the rock's a little in the ground. Then there are shrubs growing. So instead of just grasses, there's also some things with a little bit of leaves to it, like some more bulk, more mass. Then there are the shade intolerant trees, which would be like a pine tree or something. Something that does not tolerate the shade. It's not give you shade, it's just straight up. As you can see, these leaves do not look very shade tolerant. And then you get back to the mature community, which is the shade tolerant trees and so on. And this is just a big tree. See its roots going into the ground. You can't even see the rock anymore. After so many, probably like 75 years, this rock has so much soil on it that now it's just out of the picture. Can't even see it. And it is a mature community. But this is not a climax community because we did not start with anything. This bare rock goes all the way to shade-tolerant trees. So if you start at bare rock, it is primary succession. And remember, you'll have pioneer species, which will be lichens, mosses, herbs, and weeds. But you don't really need to know those. You might want to know that lichens are a pioneer species because that's what really creates the soil, and they are very important. Now there's secondary succession, this is our last whiteboard, where if there's just a disturbance in this ecosystem, let's say it is a forest. At 0 years, there will be, well, some trees might be burned down. There might not be anything, but there will be grasses, not grasses, there will be soil remaining. Then, after 1 to 2 years, annual plants may come back. Then, after 3 to 4 years, some grasses and herbs will come back. So far, it's kind of looking like primary succession, except we don't have any pioneer species. They're just slowly, all these old species are slowly coming back, smallest ones first, because there's already soil. So there is no need for pioneer species because we have soil already. So we just skip some steps. Then there are shrubs, which come between 4 and 15 years, which means, again, we have some things with a little more mass to them, but remember, we also still have our annual plants. And then we get pines, which everything from the shrubs will move over, and then there will be pine trees as well from 5 to 15 years. Then there's young oak and hickory trees after 10 to 30 years. So we'll have those pine trees, all these shrubs and stuff, and then also some little oak trees. And then after 50 to 75 years, these pine trees will die. As you can see, no more pines on it. And then the oak and hickory will mature. So this little oak or hickory tree just grew a little bit. And then after 75 plus years, there will be a mature oak and hickory forest, which is the climax community. We got back to what this forest looked like at the beginning. We can assume that when this forest was a forest before the disturbance, that the forest looked like this. And if it did look like this, after the secondary succession and it comes back to looking something like this again, this is a climax community, if that helps. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. Please like and subscribe if this helped. Thank you.